So I think I want to share in terms of what really drew me to DRBU and what really excites me about our pedagogy. And the way I was thinking about it while listening to Marty is in higher education, a lot of us, when we are trained in the traditional academy, I feel like there is almost a separation between the heart and the head. And in fact, the more one study, the more the higher one goes in one's education. It's almost like that separation becomes wider and wider. Yet the education at DRBU actually seeks to bring them back together, and not only bring it back together, it actually claims that it's inseparable to begin with, and that this idea of philosophy as a way of life, which Marty mentioned of the philosopher Pierre Hadot. And I wanted to, I have this book. This is a book that both our undergraduate and our master students read. And that Hadot has this idea that ancient philosophy actually are not, they are not simply metaphysical or ideological or conceptual frameworks, but they are actually written to transform our lives and to form us. And so I want to share, let's see, I have two quotes. Recently, I just reread a chapter of this text with the undergraduate, and these are stuff that really jumped out at me. So this is kind of very, so Hadot here argues that philosophy appears in its original aspect, not as a theoretical construct, like but as a method for training us how to live and how to look at the world in a new way. It is an attempt to transform humankind. And in that transformation at DRBU, we ask big questions like, what does it mean to live well? How do we relate to each other as in a community? And what is happiness? What is virtue? This morning, I was reading, we were reading Aristotle with our students, and that was this question we were investigating. Aristotle asked, well, what does it mean to be virtuous? What does it mean to live a good life? How does one choose how to act and how to live a virtuous life? And that all of these questions really, for me, as in a way, as an instructor at DRBU, brings my heart with my head together and investigate these questions with our students in a very meaningful way. And Marty was mentioning a lot of times that we think of study and practice almost as independent things, especially sometimes in school, we have to study and then maybe we practice or do our contemplation on the side. But at DRBU, not only do we emphasize both, again, we actually bring them together. And Hadot has another quote. And this again was one of when I was going through the text, and Hadot talks about actually the mere activity of reading itself is a spiritual exercise. And he says that we have forgotten how to read, how to pause, liberate ourselves from our worries, return into ourselves, and leave aside our search for subtlety and originality in order to meditate calmly, ruminate, and let the text speak to us. This too is a spiritual exercise and one of the most difficult. I just simply love how Hadot puts it, because he's saying that, well, actually how to read. Reading is a meditative process in which we actually take the time to pause, in that we leave behind any agendas, any even wanting to get meaning, and return into our most authentic self, even leaving aside our hopes and of wanting to search for subtlety and originality, but simply just meditate with the text and let the text speak to us as it is. And that he's saying that this practice is a spiritual exercise and one of the most difficult. So that's, I think, all I want to share with you.